7 spine-chilling encounters with a sinister neighbor, revealed secrets that haunt each night. Claire had just moved into her late grandmother's house, seeking refuge from the chaos of a messy divorce. With her 2 children, Lucy and Jake, she hoped the suburban community outside Atlanta would bring peace. At first, the charming smiles of her neighbors felt reassuring. Autumn hung like a warm blanket over the neighborhood, with families bustling about preparing for Halloween. But something sinister lurked just next door. Mr. Hargrove, a reclusive older man, watched the children with eyes that chilled her. It felt like he was more than just a neighbor. It felt like he was a haunting shadow. As they settled in, whispers began to swirl through the neighborhood. Motherly figures exchanged tense glances while exchanging tales of Mr. Hargrove's dark past. There were stories of a tragedy that had once cast a pall over the community. Claire felt the weight of their stares, their knowledge, and saw the glimmer of something unspoken behind their warm greetings. Suddenly, the candy-filled pumpkin patch felt far less inviting. Each step outside echoed with the crunch of damp leaves, and with every flicker of dusk, shadows twisted just a bit longer over Hargrove's yard. Then came the unexplainable disturbances, the faint whispers that tingled down her spine, as if the night itself was sharing secrets. It was nothing the kids noticed. Lucy and Jake were too enthralled by Halloween decorations, but Claire felt the ambience shift. On one fateful night, you'd swear that fog rolled in thicker than the night before. Alone in the house, Claire felt the sensation of being watched, prickling at the back of her neck. Shadows darted through her peripherals with an almost sinister glee. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The Halloween festival arrived, but a darkness gripped Claire's heart as she watched her children dart among the pumpkins. Panic seized her as she turned around to find them gone. Frantic, she raced through the dimly lit streets, the chilling October wind flaying her face, her breath quickening with each passing second. The gnarled trees swayed ominously, as if warning her of impending doom. Near Hargrove's house, a sense of dread gripped her. His windows glowed a sickly light, beckoning in a way that felt all too familiar. In the woods behind her house, which her grandmother once described as places lost to time, Claire stumbled upon abandoned structures cloaked in ivy. They whispered lost tales that ignited her fears. Each corner seemed to hold a memory, a shadow here, a shiver there. Inside one building, Claire found aged books with frayed edges that spoke of folklore entwined with her family's past, a past she never wanted to confront. Suddenly it clicked. Mr. Hargrove was more than a reclusive neighbor. He was a dark reminder, a dangerous connection to the family's secrets shadowing her present. Her heart raced as she stood outside his door, folding her hand into a fist, a storm of emotions swelling inside her. The night hung heavy with tension, and just as she was about to knock, a loud, blood-curdling scream pierced the darkness. It echoed through the community, fracturing the eerie calm of the night. Lucy and Jake, the chilling words of her anonymous letters rang in her mind: stay away or lose everything. Would she heed them, or spiral into the unknown threat hiding behind the facade of her new life? The choice felt like a noose closing tighter around her throat as shadows stirred, waiting. Claire froze, heart thundering in her chest. That scream, it wasn't just a call for help. It was raw terror echoing through the night, and it came from her children. Her breath caught, tangled with fear as she strained to hear anything else, but the wind stole every sound away. Her legs propelled her forward on instinct, each step punctuated by the crunch of dried leaves, the wooden boards of her grandmother's home crumbling beneath her as she darted outside into the chill of the night. The glow of orange lanterns that had once felt comforting now cast twisted shadows that danced maliciously, mocking her frantic heart. Lucy! Jake! The names escaped her lips in desperate gasps, swallowed by the darkness. She turned toward Mr. Hargrove's house, the sickly light still seeping from the windows. It drew her closer, as if the house itself was a monstrous mouth longing for entrapment. Dread coiled in her stomach, cold and unyielding, but the thought of her children in danger pushed her through the shadows. She reached the edge of Hargrove's yard, where the gnarly branches hung low like gnarled fingers waiting to ensnare her. A sound came from within, the shuffling of footsteps, then a sudden silence that felt more horrifying than the scream. Claire glanced back. The neighborhood lay deserted, lights turned off, curtains drawn tight. Where were the neighbors? Shouldn't they be helping? No, no, she whispered, panic threatening to swallow her whole. She weighed her options: a soft knock on Mr. Hargrove's door, or a scream for help to draw attention. The echo of her children's laughter from earlier haunted her, and she fought against the urge to flee. With trembling fingers, she rapped lightly on the door, the sound swallowed by the night. Seconds felt like hours. Just as she was about to turn away in despair, the door creaked open. A narrow beam of light spilled out, revealing Hargrove's haggard face, deeper shadows clinging to him like a shroud. "What do you want?" he barked, his voice a gravelly snarl. "Have you seen my kids?" Claire's voice was barely above a whisper, trembling with fear. The expression on Hargrove's face shifted slightly, a flicker of something, a recognition? "Please, I need to," but he suddenly stepped aside, waving her in. "They're safe for now, come." With a mix of terror and desperate hope, Claire seized the opportunity and stepped inside. The scent of damp earth, and something else, something rotting, filled her lungs. The dim light revealed walls smeared with what looked like strange symbols. "Where are they?" Claire demanded, scanning the room. It was a small space cluttered with odd trinkets and framed photographs, faces distorted by time, eyes that seemed to follow her. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. "They've been waiting for you," he rasped, his voice low, almost intimate. "You have to choose." "Choose what?" Panic gripped her. But Hargrove wasn't explaining. Instead, he walked toward the darkest corner of the room, disappearing into the shadow. Claire's heart raced, dread and worry gutting her. Was he tricking her? What did he mean by choice? And just like that, she heard them, a faint but distinct sound, muffled sobs coming from somewhere deeper in the house. Her children. "Lucy! Jake!" she called out, rushing toward the sound. The darkness swallowed her whole as a sliver of fear chilled her bones. Hargrove, as scuttling behind her, made her feel like prey trapped in a predator's den. The air thickened with terrors unsaid. Claire's breath came quick. Each step drew her closer to her kids, but also closer to Hargrove's world, a world of shadows, secrets, and choices far too dark. As she rounded the corner, she stopped dead in her tracks. "What are you doing?" she breathed. In front of her stood a doorway partly ajar, revealing a dimly lit room beyond. It was adorned with grotesque figures, and at its center stood her children, trapped in a web of glowing light. No, not trapped. They seemed to be beckoning her. What was happening? The true horror loomed ahead, and Claire felt the ground slipping away beneath her. With a surge of adrenaline and instinct, she lunged towards the light, but then a voice hissed through the air, chilling her to the core. "Come any closer, and you will lose everything." The darkness tightened around her, as she prepared to make a choice that would forever change her fate. Would she save her children or uncover the secrets that Hargrove held? The answer was just out of reach, lurking within the shadows. Claire's heart pounded at the sound of that chilling warning. She felt the weight of every choice pressing down on her. The light shimmered, teasing her senses, and saw her children, their faces twisted in anguish, beckoning her with desperate gestures. Their cries echoed in her mind, laced with confusion and terror. Don't be fooled," a tight voice whispered from the depths of her memory. It was her mother, warning her of the dangers lurking where no light shone. But the sight of Lucy's tear-streaked face broke through her hesitation. She needed to move, needed to save them. "Claire!" Hargrove's voice interjected, slicing through her thoughts. "You don't understand. The choice you make will alter everything." "What choice?" "You're scaring me," Claire shouted, desperation climbing higher, her breaths quickening. His grin was unsettling, teeth gleaming in the dim light. The children or the truth? One will come at the cost of the other. She didn't care about the truth. All she could focus on was getting to her kids. Ignoring him, Claire pushed against the doorway, but the light pulsated violently with her movements, as if repelling her in place. Shadows writhed and loomed overhead, dark tendrils snaking closer. "Mom! Help us!" Jake's voice cut through her paralysis, aging her 10 years in one breath. "Please! Hargrove, what are you doing to them?" Claire shrieked, panic and fury boiling within her. She could feel the walls closing in, enclosing her in a madhouse of horrors. "Only what I must," he muttered, backing away, his eyes glistening with dark delight. "They're the only key. They've seen what others refuse to accept. You need to let them in, or one of them will suffer forever." The notion twisted her stomach, and doubt seeped in. What if Hargrove was right? But then she remembered the warmth of their hugs, the laughter echoing through the halls of her grandmother's home, and it ignited a fire within her. "You're lying! I wouldn't give up on them." With every shred of strength she possessed, Claire lunged toward the shimmering grasp of light, reaching out for her children. Just as her hand brushed against the glow, a scream filled the room, a scream so dreadful it pierced through layers of dread. It was Lucy's voice, desperate and pleading. "Mom! Don't!" But the glow surged, pulling them just inches out of reach, warping the space between them, morphing into a swirling vortex of despair. Claire felt herself caught in the grip of Hargrove's world, darkness swallowing whatever hope she had left. "The cost!" Hargrove bellowed, advancing toward her, eyes aflame with some unholy light. "It must be paid." The room shook as the figures began to writhe, drawing her children's features deeper into the obsidian shadows. The walls shifted, breathing in time with the terror she felt. Claire's skin crawled, a numbing chill devouring her resolve. Screams echoed, louder now, her children's cries, endless agony, reverberating through the dim chamber. Claire fought against the pull, her hands stretching, stacked against fear and dread. Each heartbeat screamed within her, "Don't let go!" And then, everything erupted. The light engulfed her, waves of energy colliding, heavy and oppressive. Claire gasped, clutching the doorway as puffs of darkness clawed at her. There was no room for uncertainty anymore. It was now or never. With a primal scream, she launched herself into the light, heart racing, only to find herself transported to an eerie stillness. The room had collapsed around her, and Claire stood alone before a shadowy silhouette slowly emerging. "Welcome, Claire," it rasped. Something shifted in the air. She braced herself, a new horror unfolding. It wasn't Hargrove. What had she unleashed? What real choice lay ahead? The echoes of sinister laughter rippled through the darkness, promising that everything, her children's safety, the truth hung by a single thread. And somewhere far off, a familiar voice whispered, "Your choice, Claire, it has just begun." What kind of evil had she awakened, and would she ever find her children again? The darkness thickened around Claire like a suffocating fog, her breath quickening as the shadow before her flickered and shifted. It loomed, an undefinable mass that absorbed the feeble light, twisting into grotesque shapes. Panic clawed at her throat. "What do you want from me?" The question spilled out, trembling yet defiant. Fear, despair, it hissed back, the voice layered with echoes of both laughter and cries. "You already know what you must do." Every instinct screamed for her to run, to escape this nightmare. Yet, the thought of Lucy and Jake, their faces twisted in desperation, anchored her. "I won't abandon them. I'll find a way." As if amused, the shadow lengthened, stretching toward her. "Do you think you can alter fate? Let the light guide you or embrace the darkness, but know this, each path is shrouded in torment." The air crackled, and she heard whispers swirling around her, weaving threads of her past into this nightmare. Memories surfaced, her own childhood flickering like a projector screen filled with horror. She saw herself fleeing through corridors, shadows chasing her, a ceaseless dread following her steps. Childhood fears never truly fade. The silhouette twisted, merging into something more defined, a familiar face now obscured by darkness. Claire's heart stuttered, recognizing the glint of malicious glee overshadowed by sorrow. Mother? The shadow erupted, transforming into a wicked smile. I taught you to fear what lies beyond perception. You chose ignorance, Claire. Now ignorance must be repaid. A chill ran through her, sending prickles of frozen fear dancing across her skin. No! Stop! I'm not done fighting. Suddenly, the room shifted again, walls bending like a funhouse, warping her sense of space. The world became a dizzying spiral of anguish, echoing her children's cries around her. Their voices were now mere whispers, taunting her with tragic consequences of her hesitation. Let us in, Claire! You have to trust us! Gripping her head in despair, Claire staggered back. Trust you? You're trapped. The words tasted bitter, laced with resolve and fear. But you're my children! I will save you! The silhouette laughed, a sound born of malice. What will you sacrifice to save them? The cost is steep, and I will make sure you weigh every ounce of pain. The darkness pulsated, heavy and unnatural, every beat syncing with her racing heart. Stop! She felt the ground shift beneath her, shadows creeping at her feet like hungry spiders. I won't let you take them. You can have them. Then you understand the truth, it rasped, a cruel satisfaction threading through the words. All your choices lead back to the same fate. You are the architect of your own horror. In that moment, an explosion of light erupted from the far wall, illuminating the chamber with blinding intensity. The truth of her mother's words hit her like a freight train, an unbearable weight crumbling her resolve. I should listen. Too late, Claire, the shadow twisted, distorting into myriad shapes, echoing countless cries. You awaken me. I am the keeper of your truths and your darkest fears. With a shattering roar, Claire lunged toward the light. It felt alive, a desperate hope pushing through despair. Make your choice. It shrieked as the darkness lashed out, as if it had a will of its own. She could see her children beyond the pulsating glow, so close, yet so far. The light beckoned, soothing her jagged thoughts. But at what cost? Claire, do you dare? Or will they suffer? A single, piercing scream cut through the air, her children's voices mingling with her own. Heart racing, she took a step forward. Which path would she embrace? And as the light flickered and faded, Claire felt the world crack beneath her, disintegrating into shadow once more. The choice loomed, the darkness whispered promises of freedom and horror. Would she grasp the light, or surrender to the chilling abyss? The ground trembled beneath Claire's feet, the shadows swirling like a hurricane around her. She could feel their chill creeping into her bones, gnawing away at her courage. The light was gone now, but the echo of it reverberated in her mind, a haunting reminder of what she yearned for. Claire, the darkness hissed, its voice slithering through the air. You think you can resist? You are already mine. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting back panic. This battle felt like a game, a twisted endurance test waiting to see how much she could withstand. She gritted her teeth, opened her eyes, and found herself submerged in a scene from the depths of her memory. Lucy and Jake, small and terrified, reaching for her from the edges of a chasm. The very abyss that the darkness promised. No! I will not give in! Claire shouted, willing the vision away. Yet the haunting images lingered, fueling her desperation. The walls of her childhood home loomed behind her, each crack and creak a reminder of the horrors she had faced growing up. The air thickened, brushing against her like icy fingers. Behind her mother's shadowy visage, bygone fears crouched, waiting to be unleashed. What kind of mother are you, Claire? The shadow mocked. What lengths will you go to save what you can never have? I won't let you twist this! She screamed, searching the darkness for the source of the whispers. I'm stronger than you think. Suddenly, a cacophony erupted around her, her children's voices melding into a dissonant symphony of anguish. Help us, Mommy! Save us! The pleas filled her with dread, flooding her heart with terror. You must choose. Choose what? She cried back, frustration boiling within her. You're not real! The laughter that followed was chilling, a cruel blend of her children's tones. We are as real as the fear in your heart. You are the one who brought us here. Her breath quickened. She didn't want to believe it, yet the truth clung to her like a second skin. This darkness was crafted from her own nightmares. The weight of it pushed down, forcing her to her knees. What do you want from me? Everything, it whispered, the depth of its voice resonating with an unsettling finality. Surrender your fear, and we may spare you the truth. Fight, and lose everything. Before she could respond, the ground split apart. The chasm widened, a dark maw promising escape, seemingly reshaping the very fabric of her reality. Her children's silhouettes struggled at the edge, hands outstretched. Help us, Mommy! Jake's voice, sharp like glass, pierced through the chaotic sounds. This was her moment. The role of a savior, echoing through generations. I will. Claire gasped, reaching toward them, feeling their warmth just out of reach. In that moment, a spark ignited within her, a flicker of steadfast resolve igniting against the tide of despair. But with it came a heavy price. The moment she mentally accepted the call, the darkness swarmed, weaving its tendrils through her thoughts. You have chosen foolishly. Suddenly, her memories flared painfully. Images of her mother scolding her, substituting love for concern, interlaced with the unbearable sight of her children crying. You should have stayed away from the light, it cooed mockingly. Stop! Claire screamed, as a blinding flash enveloped her. The pain intensified, sending her spiraling back to the stark reality of her present. She found herself again at the fork, the shadows slithering towards her, each parting revealing more horrors. Would she grasp the flickering remnants of hope and light, or would she plunge into the dark depths of despair forever? Just then, a new voice emerged, a whisper barely audible amidst her turmoil. Claire. They're counting on you. Her heart thudded in her chest. Who was this? Was hope finally breaking through? But the darkness only laughed, a sound that chilled her to the core. Trust is a dangerous game, Claire. Can you afford to play? The stakes rose sharper. A choice loomed. It would redefine everything. What would she do next? The darkness pulsed around Claire, taunting her as she weighed her options. The shadows twisted and elongated, whispering sinister promises. Do you want to save them, Claire? Then you must offer yourself as tribute. The words wormed their way into her mind, twisting the very essence of her heart. Tribute? Did they mean her life, her soul? Panic gripped her. She couldn't let them take her. She wouldn't allow that darkness to consume her entirely. Enough of this! She yelled, her voice sharp like a knife cutting through the suffocating gloom. I won't surrender to you. The laughter echoed again, vibrating through her bones. Surrender isn't just about giving in, my dear. Sometimes it's about holding on to what's left or losing it all. Suddenly, the ground lurched beneath her. One moment she was standing at the precipice, the next, the earth heaved, and Claire found herself tumbling downwards. She clawed at the edges, grabbing for anything, but the shadows wrapped around her like heavy chains, dragging her down, deeper into the abyss. Mommy! The familiar voice cut through the clamor of despair, slicing into her heart. It was Lucy, tiny and scared. Claire's resolve boiled again as sheer desperation washed over her. I'm coming! She called, fighting against the overwhelming current of darkness. Each flailing limb felt heavier than the last, the shadows laughed louder as her strength waned. Memories of joyous family dinners, warm laughter, and sunlit days blurred together, illuminated in her mind by the stark contrast to the fear enveloping her now. These moments, these memories, they're not gone. I'll hold on. I'll find you. With every ounce of will, Claire pushed herself upward, envisioning her children at the end of this darkness, envisioning their smiles. The laughter began to falter, confusion rippling through the shadows. No, no! You can't resist! It shouted, a tremor of panic edging its voice. The shadows dispersed just enough for Claire to catch a glimpse of light, a fissure glimmering through the chaos, a desperate hope shining like a beacon. She focused on it, her heart racing. Mommy! The voice echoed again, clearer this time, and it reignited her determination. Time stilled as she made her choice. With a final, defiant scream, she surged upwards toward the sliver of light, reaching her arms out desperately. As she broke through the surface, a shocking jolt of air filled her lungs, and her world exploded into brilliance. But just as quickly it vanished. She stood in the midst of her living room, her heart pounding. What just happened? Was it real, or a twisted manipulation of her mind? The shadows still lingered at the edges of her vision, creeping in and out of focus. Then came a slamming noise, a loud thud from the basement. Claire's heart sank. She knew that sound well. Her children played down there before. But now, the basement door stood ajar, inviting her in, whispering secrets that should remain untouched. "Help us, Mommy!" they called, sending a chill down her spine. She hesitated, the darkness curling at her feet like smoke, entreating her to retreat. But she couldn't. Not now. Not ever. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, the floor creaking beneath her. With each step, doubt twisted into a gnawing fear, the shadows growing thicker. What awaited her down there? As she reached the door, a cruel whisper enveloped her like a shroud. "Are you ready for the truth? You think saving them will make you whole?" She bit her lip, trembling as she pushed the door open wider. It creaked ominously, revealing the pitch-black staircase spiraling into darkness. Each step down felt heavier, her heart racing with each beat against impending doom. The voices grew louder, a haunting echo that twisted her stomach. "Mommy! Please! Help us!" With a final surge of defiance, Claire stepped into the void, her heart pounding in her ears. The darkness swallowed her whole, the shadows closing in like hungry wolves. What awaited her in the murk below? Would the truth bring salvation or damnation? But as she vanished into the depths, a new voice emerged above all the rest, a sinister whisper promising her the ultimate choice. "Welcome back, Claire, let us play." The darkness enveloped Claire like a heavy fog, each step down the basement staircase echoing hollowly in the silence. Shadows writhed along the walls, ephemeral forms drawn to her presence, whispering her name like a twisted melody. The light from her living room dimmed above, swallowed by the abyss. "Mommy! We're here!" Lucy's voice drifted through the shadows, a cry of innocent despair that pierced Claire's heart. But the chilling atmosphere twisted the sweetness of her daughter's words, making them sound almost mocking. A force pulled at Claire's legs, urging her to retreat, but she fought against it. "No! I need to find them." Her voice trembled as she pressed forward into the darkness. With each step, memories surged and crashed against her mind: a family picnic, a birthday cake with 3 candles, laughter ringing over summer's warmth. "Mommy!" The plea sounded again, louder and more frantic. Panic clawed at her throat, squeezing tighter with every beat of her heart. What if she didn't get to them in time? What if they were in danger? The shadows thickened around her, morphing into grotesque shapes, each one a grotesque reminder of her dread. "You think you can save them?" The voice taunted again, shrill and filled with amusement. "How many have tried, Claire? Countless souls searching for a way out, and yet, here you are." Claire's breath quickened, a sharp taste of metal on her tongue. "Get away from me!" she shouted, anger fueling her steps. But the shadows coiled tighter, wrapping around her arms and legs, dragging her back. "Mommy! Help us!" The children cried in unison, their voices mingling with an eerie harmony. Their haunting cries sharpened the edges of her fear, gnashing away at her resolve. Suddenly, blinding brightness erupted in front of her. A chill radiated from it, conflicting with the dark embrace that surrounded her. Claire squinted, straining to see through the brilliance. As her eyes adjusted, figures began to coalesce, 2 small shapes darting back and forth, silhouettes of her children. "Mommy, please!" "Not yet, not yet," a low voice rumbled from the darkness, slicing through the moment. "Enough!" Claire screeched, forcing herself to lurch forward, breaking free from the shadow's grip. She lunged toward the light, toward her children. Each frantic step felt as if it took an eternity, the fear that engulfed her squeezing her chest. The figures surged into view, ghost-like, flickering as if the light itself trembled against their presence. "Mommy!" The joyous reunion she yearned for froze in cold reality. Their faces were pale, eyes wide, not with fear but something darker, something that knew too much. "What is this?" Claire gasped, grasping towards them, but they seemed to recede, closer to the light yet shying away as if entranced by a sinister force. "Help us!" Lucy's voice splintered, now tinged with terror, and suddenly the light twisted into a funnel, sucking the last hope out of the air. "Remember, Claire," whispered the shadows, the mean laughter echoing, chilling her to the bone. In the depths, nothing is as it seems. The cold grasp of the dark returned, dragging her back. The reality of her children's fear twisted further. Was she truly saving them, or was she bringing them to something worse? As she spiraled into confusion, the entities surrounding her morphed, becoming hazy reflections of her guilt, her failures. She gasped, trying to breathe, her mind racing. "Do you want to save them?" The voice teased, dark and tantalizing. "You have to lose something dearer." The choice loomed silently, filled with dread. What did she have left to lose? Before she could comprehend, a blinding flash enveloped her whole, and she felt herself slipping into a choice she couldn't comprehend, feelings crashing around her, drowning out everything else. When the light blinked out, Claire saw two small figures in front of her again. But their eyes were no longer filled with fear. They glimmered with something ancient and unfathomable. "What do you want from me?" she managed, voice trembling. "Everything," they whispered in unison, their voices echoing her own dread. The ground beneath her rippled, and Claire realized the darkness had returned, more potent than before, ready to take its toll. Was she too late to save them? Or had the game just begun? As the shadows loomed ever closer, she understood. This was only the start. The whispers grew louder, taunting her, and a central truth emerged from the chaos: sometimes losing is the only way to find. What sinister game was unfolding as she spiraled deeper? And who truly controlled this nightmare? The darkness pressed against Claire, thick like a shroud, suffocating her resolve. She stumbled, pulling herself up against unseen walls, her fingers brushing against cold, damp stone. Shadows flitted around her, whispering doubts that spiraled into her mind. "You're never going to reach them," they hissed. "Never going to escape." "Shut up!" Claire shouted, panic lacing her voice. The walls felt alive, vibrating with her fear, a deep hum that reverberated through her body. "I'll find my children. I'll save them." Faint shadows flickered ahead, and a movement caught her eye, a flash of white fabric. "Lucy?" Desperation ignited a flame in Claire's chest, and she lurched forward, pushing through the dark, each step a battle against the consuming despair. "Lucy! Jacob!" she cried, voice cracking, hanging on to the fading echoes of her children's names. And then, there they were, two ethereal figures, standing just beyond the shroud of dark. But something felt off. Their forms trembled in and out of focus, wavering like flames on the cusp of extinguishing. The familiar curve of Lucy's cheek, the tousled hair of Jacob, they looked like her children, yet the hollowness in their eyes spoke volumes of a grim reality. "Mommy!" they shrieked, reaching for her. But as Claire extended her hand, the ground beneath her feet groaned, a consuming chasm cracking open. "No! No!" She stumbled back, her heart thrumming wildly in fear. The shadows twisted, joining together like serpents wrapping around her. They hissed in glee, feasting on the raw terror that pulsed within her. "You're too late. You've already lost them." "No!" Claire screamed as the abyss widened, pulling her closer to its gaping maw. The figures flickered again, their faces stricken with an anguish beyond words, and Claire's heart ached as she recognized their pain. "Stay with me. I can save you." "Save us?" Lucy's voice broke, turning into a cruel sound, echoing in the deep hollows of the darkness. "You can't even save yourself." Images flashed within the depths of her mind, her failures, the shattered family photographs. Laughter now turned to silence. The weight of her guilt threatened to crush her, and in that moment she knew what the shadows wanted. "You're nothing without us," they jeered, their laughter wrapping around her like chains. Claire's breath hitched as desperation surged within her. "I wouldn't let you take them. I'd give anything, I'd trade anything." The words spilled forth before she could catch them, and the shadows pulsed, a sinister acknowledgement flaring in their depths. What would you sacrifice? They whispered, drawing closer, caressing her limbs with icy fingers. She could feel their presence coiling, tempting, promising a salvation buried deep beneath layers of despair. Stop! She shouted, the fight consuming her. You can't have what I love! Claire tightened her fists, determination igniting a fire deep within her core. But the darkness only chuckled. You can't save them without first losing something dear. The very air vibrated with a ghastly electricity. Claire's thoughts swirled as her heart raced, the terror of the choice crashing into her. Then, in a flash, the world around her shifted. The colors bled into each other, the shadows morphed into a whirling storm. Claire felt herself being ripped away, her essence fragmented through an unseen rift. The ground she stood upon dissolved into chaos, her voice echoing, "No! Don't!" Suddenly she found herself suspended in a void, floating between light and darkness, the echoes of her children's voices fading into oblivion. Each pulse against her consciousness pulled her deeper, deeper still. Was this the price demanded? Was her love the currency to save them, or was she forsaking herself for a shadow of hope? In the echoing silence, a new thought threaded through her frantic mind. What if losing was not the answer but becoming something new? An inner beast that spoke the language of the shadows. The shadows loomed once again, their laughter rising, a cacophony of dark promises. Claire understood. This wasn't just a game, it was a transformation. What would she become in her fight to reclaim her children? And at what cost would salvation come? Claire's heart pounded, the sound echoing in the vast emptiness surrounding her. She felt the dark tide rising again. I will not give in! She shouted, desperation spilling like venom from her lips. The shadows thickened, rushing toward her in a chaotic swirl, warding off the glimmers of light that threatened to break the void. They writhed and screamed, drawing closer with the rancid warmth of decay. You think you can defy us? They taunted, voices blending into a horrific symphony. You're just a flicker, fading at the edges. Stay away. Stay away from me! Claire yelled, her voice piercing the darkness. The shadows recoiled, but their amusement rang louder. A voice, softer yet eerily familiar, broke through the madness. Mommy, it was Jacob. It was her son. His voice stirred something deep within her, a fierce commitment to shield him from the dark. Please, Mommy. Help us. Driven by what remained of her will, Claire lunged toward the swirling mass. I'm coming. I won't let you take them. In that moment, she felt a shift, as if the very fabric of existence trembled from her emotion. The shadows hesitated, their cruel laughter faltering. A glimmer of hope ignited. Could she wrest control away from this malevolent force? Speak the truth, Mother, a dense voice growled, chilling her to the bone. What would you cast aside for them? The question hung there, heavy like a dead weight in her chest. Claire grasped at the threads of her memories, her fight to make a life for her children, the sleepless nights of worry, her relentless hope against hope. I would sacrifice anything. My sanity, my heart, my soul! With her declaration, something jagged tore through her, roots of darkness latching onto her spirit, siphoning her essence. It felt like a wound, raw and agonizing, but inside that pain a fire ignited. A vision pierced through the chaotic shadows. She saw a mirror reflecting her children, entangled in chains made of despair. Their faces twisted with fear. Mommy! Lucy's cry clawed at Claire's heart, a haunting melody that stretched across the void. Enough! Claire roared, summoning the last remnants of her strength. The air crackled, resonating with her fury. You'll not torment them anymore. I will shred the chains of this despair. Claire plunged deeper into the heart of darkness, feeling the rush of power coiling within her. The shadows shrieked in denial as wisps of her spirit danced around them, a brilliant spectrum amidst their dull existence. She felt her transformation wash over her, a razor-edged determination solidifying her will to fight. Suddenly, the figure of a woman emerged from the depths, cloaked in layers of darkness. Claire recognized her, a reflection of her own worst fears, yet it bore the weight of an unspeakable sadness. "You will become what you fear, a shadow of your own creation," it whispered, beckoning, tempting. "No!" Claire gritted her teeth, her voice a match of steel. "I will not be defined by this darkness." With renewed vigor, she reached for her children, the pulsating connection stronger than the shadow's grip. "Lucy! Jacob! I can feel you! I will pull you back, no matter the cost." But then the darkness surged forward, closing in on her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Claire felt a chilling realization skitter across her mind like a spider in the dark. Her emotions were raw, primal, and the shadows fed on her fear. As her vision began to blur, the faces of her children glimmered like fading stars, a cruel reminder of what hung in the balance. "You're here! Together! Fight with me!" With one last breath, she let out a primal scream, sending a shockwave through the void, and appealed to the buried slumbering beast within her, the savagery she had yet to embrace. The darkness trembled, recoiling, as Claire felt the chains start to break. But just as the shadows faltered, a piercing shriek erupted, ripping through the air. Would it tear them apart or free them at last? The answer hung in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. The shadows lurched back, and Claire felt something shifting deep within her. The question loomed like a specter in the night. What kind of monster would she become to save her children? As everything began to spiral anew, she gasped for clarity, and then realized she was not alone. Something else awakened within her, lurking, ready to emerge. What lay on the other side of her transformation? And would it lead her to her children or into unspeakable horror? The darkness twisted and swirled, wrapping around Claire like a serpent coiling its prey. She was aware of her heart racing, the chilling grip of despair clawing at her throat. "I won't let you take them!" she screamed into the encroaching void, her voice echoing back, reminding her of her own fear. Suddenly, she felt a warmth rising within her, a flicker of strength ignited by her love for Lucy and Jacob. "Mommy!" Their voices, now softer, swirled around her, pulling her back from the brink. She gathered every ounce of defiance, every memory of laughter, warmth, and innocent joy. With fierce resolve, she stepped toward the shadows, her breath steadying. "You want my essence?" Claire shouted, her eyes blazing. "Know that I will not yield. I'll sacrifice anything for my children." Darkness recoiled at her words, forces of fear and malice momentarily faltering. In that instant, she felt the pulse of the bond connecting her to Lucy and Jacob growing stronger, radiating from their unseen forms. Taking a steadying breath, she reached inside herself, deeper than she had ever dared before. Wounds began to surface, the shadows clawing at every painful memory: the divorce, loneliness, the feeling of failure. "Yes, I see you!" she shouted. Lost moments, twisted choices, blurred paths all converged into a single vision of her purpose. "But you will not control me!" The darkness hissed, swirling like smoke, its movements almost frantic. "You are weak. It is your fear that nourishes us." "No!" Claire's spirit surged like wildfire. The shadows screamed as she tore through their web of despair. She could hear Lucy and Jacob's calls clearer now, their faith rallying her. "Trust me!" she cried out, willing them to hear her intent. The chasm widened around her, swirling with their essence, threatening to consume them all. Then the faintest glimmer of light seeped through, flickering like a candle in a storm. It was fragile but bold. Right there, at its epicenter, she knew she had to reach for it. "Hold on!" she called out to her children, a beacon of hope creating a path to them. "I'm coming!" Shadows clawed at her ankles, seeking to drag her back into despair, but with newfound strength, she pressed against the tide, bursting through into the light. "Come with me!" she yelled, her voice echoing through the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. Raw energy surged through her, illuminating the void. The shadows spiraled into chaotic onyx shapes, shrieking in outrage as the light grew brighter. "You don't have to be afraid." Suddenly, a bond pulsed between her and her children, raw and beautiful, filling her with surging vigor. Claire reached forward, extending her arms toward the shimmering forms of Lucy and Jacob as they trembled with uncertainty. In that moment, As their silhouettes shifted, she caught the look of acceptance in their wide eyes and knew it was time. Together! She shouted, feeling the surge swell within them. They locked eyes, and in that heartbeat, a wave of incandescent light surged, piercing the shadows and revealing their true colors. Claire was no longer just fighting darkness. They were creating light together, a brilliance that shattered the chains binding the children within the shadowy grip. The shadows convulsed, screeching in horror as they dissolved into wisps around them. No! You cannot escape! But they were escaping. Claire felt the bond with her children severing the tentacles of darkness, each step toward the light leading to newfound freedom. The world around them erupted into a kaleidoscope of colors, pulling them through a torrent of emotions: fear, rage, love, and hope, all intertwining into a singular force. With one last push, they surged forward, breaking free into a brilliant expanse of warmth and clarity. The overwhelming sensation washed over Claire, closing the jagged wounds within her. She held on to Lucy and Jacob, feeling their warmth return, feeling the lost years of absence fading away. The basement shadows flickered, retreating into nothingness, the whispers silencing as an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped them. They were free, and the weight of the sinister past had lost its grip. Claire knelt, embracing her children tightly, the embrace weaving a tapestry of love so fiercely alive that it shielded them from harm. "Mommy, you found us," Lucy breathed, tears streaming down her cheeks, a sweet echo of joy resonating in her voice. "Never again, I promise," Claire whispered, her throat tightening around the words. As the darkness receded to nothing, she saw distant figures of her neighbors rising from their own patterns of despair, reminding her that they too had fought through shadows unseen. And in their community, Claire saw hope bloom anew, no longer bound by the echoes of fear, but free to reclaim their destiny. It was a new beginning. Hand in hand, they walked out together, the sun breaking through the clouds, washing the neighborhood in golden light. Everything was going to be okay. Remember, as Claire embraced her children and the warmth of a new day fully bloomed, this wasn't just about reconnecting with them. It was a message to all of us. Fear can envelop us, shadows can betray us, but our love will always provide the light we need to break free and reclaim what we thought was lost. Now that you've witnessed the gripping conclusion of Claire's story, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Let's get this to the world. Flood the comments section with your reactions and wild theories about this epic ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what makes stories like this possible.